Another week, another loss. This is Big Blue Avenue. I'm Tom Scavetta, joined alongside Sam Cardona Norberg. Sam, welcome back to the show. I missed the first half of the game. Last week, I was flying up from Jacksonville back to New York. And safe to say, I'm glad I missed it, Sam. Thank you for keeping me updated. That was a brutal defeat to the Saquon Barkley Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it was a rough one. And I'll be completely honest with you. Most of my updates were coming through Red Zone because I got so fed up with watching that game that I just turned Red Zone on. I was like, I'm not watching this. This is trash. It's so bad. And you know it was a bad game when Jordan and I are conversing with one another during it. Normally, we don't speak to each other during Giants-Eagles games. It was that bad that we were actually just having a conversation because I just did not care.
I don't blame you for not caring. It was a tough game. We'll talk about what we took away from it. We'll spend majority of tonight's show on Pittsburgh as we're on from southeastern Pennsylvania to western Pennsylvania. Folks, if you are new to the channel, checking us out for the first time, you can find us below at Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of our loyal fans and loving support. Our Week 7 key takeaways, and Sam, without Andrew Thomas, I was afraid this was going to happen. The offensive line returned to 2023 form, except with new faces on it. It's crazy how one missing piece could lead to an absolute catastrophe. 8 sacks for the Eagles, 7 on Daniel Jones.
That is just... You don't ever want to see your quarterbacks get sacked, let alone 7 times. That is just – I feel like the idea of getting sacked is not physically grasped in our brains, as at least for me. I've never physically played football before and gotten sacked by a 300-pound man before. So to have that happen 7 times to you cannot be good for you, cannot be good for your body, cannot be good for – your brain in every capacity. It's just you don't want to see that. And it felt very last season Giants. I feel like we were having our shining moments throughout this season so far. We've had our downs, but we've had our ups. And it was just atrocious seeing the way that it was just nobody was playing. The defense was playing. The defense was doing great, but offense in every aspect, they just did not do well.
Disgusting performance, nevertheless. I do want to say I met Leonard Williams's high school defensive line coach on Friday night. So It was my brother's 21st birthday. We were getting in Uber from north central Florida up towards Jacksonville and St. Augustine over there. And the guy's like, yeah, I see you're a Giants fan. I'm like, yeah, how do you feel about the season? I'm like, not good. He's like, oh, yeah, you guys really miss Leonard Williams there, stopping the run. You guys can't stop a nosebleed. I'm like, yep. He's like, I was Leonard Williams' high school coach. I'm like, there's no way. And then he throws at me, Sam, get this. He was also Tank Dell's high school coach. And I'm like, well, why are you driving Uber? He's like, high school coach at day, Uber driver at night. You got to make cash one way or another. Jags fan.
Drive Ubers. That's so funny. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I'm sure high school football coaching is probably not the most lucrative of jobs, but wow, that's pretty cool though.
Mainland Florida, Mainland High School in Daytona is the high school that Leonard Williams went to. Tudo. I've not seen Tudo in a while.
It's been a minute.
Much love and respect, and all diehard Giants fans across the pond. Greetings from our entire rugby club in Italy. And we say, forget about it.
Happy to have you here, Tudo.
Love you, Tudo. Appreciate it. Daniel Jones was benched in the fourth quarter. Sim, I don't know if I want to call this a traditional benching. This was not a case where Jones lost the starting job. This is a case where the game was out of hand. Everyone was playing bad. And I will never get on the bench Daniel Jones train unless the season is over, because Drew Lock is worse. And we saw, he wasn't set up in a place to succeed, but he fumbled twice, recovered one of them. The other went out of bounds. This offense is just a catastrophe. Dable had to come out and say 7 weeks into the season, yes, our $40 million quarterback will still start next week, and we're only in week 8 of the season.
I mean, that's just in and of itself just not at all where you want to be in an organization. Thinking about the fact that we're paying Daniel Jones this much money and yet we're benching him. And then also you're coming out and saying, no, he's still the starting quarterback. Like, if we're sitting here confused, I can't even imagine how these players are feeling. These players have got to be sitting there going, I don't even know what's going on. Like it's crazy. And I just want a quarterback to get in there and just be able to, nickel and dime. At the end of the day, that's really what you have to do to get down the field. And we're just not doing it. We're not good at it. And Drew Lock is kind of very similar to Daniel Jones in that way. It's like over the course of his career, we've seen him, the Broncos and Seattle. He has his high moments and then he has his very, very low moments. And he's not a consistent quarterback. I don't think we have at all a consistent quarterback on our entire roster. Like Tommy DeVito, yes, obviously we had the whole thing last year, but he's not a starting quarterback. It's just it's just not in the cards for him, and that's okay. But it's just like we need a consistent quarterback, and out of the 3 that we have on our active roster, doesn't exist.
I agree. Now, another thing too about this game, it wasn't just Jones that was bad. The Giants were unable to run the football. Singletary was back, had 5 rushes for 18 yards. Tracy only had 6 carries. Saquon Barkley, on the other hand, had the second most rushing yards against his former team in NFL history. And then Sirianni was asking Saquon, do you want to stay in there? Saquon said, no, let the young guys eat. His exact words. I think Saquon, in the back of his head, still has a lot of respect for the Giants organization. And I've had arguments with my brother about this. My brother, Sam, is on the side that says we should have paid Saquon and let Daniel Jones go. I've had arguments with him back and forth about this time and time again. We'd be 2-5 with Saquon or without Saquon. It doesn't matter. He's playing so well because, yes, he is very good. I still think he's a top 5 back in the league. But let's be real here. The Eagles also still, after Kelsey's retirement, have a top 10 O-line in the National Football League. It's pretty simple.
I know. And seeing that clip of Saquon just made me feel that same way where it's like, you can't hate the guy, even though he is on the Philadelphia Eagles. He is a good person. And we will always love Saquon Barkley. I feel like we say this like every single week, but we'll always love him. And he is just such a good person. And seeing that just made me realize, I was like, yeah, you're right though, but it would have been like really nice to have him retire a Giant. I would have loved to see him on our team for the rest of his career. That's what hurts me the most, honestly, because it's very obvious that Daniel Jones is going to be gone. And it's like, we could have gotten Saquon and have him retire a Giant, but I feel like it's semantics at this point. Nothing we can do about it at this point. And I also saw like the way Saquon was reacting to like AJ Brown, excuse me, scoring a touchdown. And he's running down the sidelines and he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, I feel like we never saw that on our team. We never saw that excitement. We never saw that passion, not just from him, but just like in general. And I'm like, I want that passion back. I want that, like, 2000s, early 2000s passion that we had. And it's just like, it's just not here.
Yeah. I still think Saquon brought a lot of excitement when he was here, but you're right. There was a lot more losing done here than winning while he was here, and that's definitely a shame. Another reason why the Giants are losing, we mentioned Daniel Jones. Malik Neighbors mentioned post-game that he was open, and then they asked Brian Daboll the same thing, and then Brian was like, to be honest with you, Pat, he was open, but I don't understand. Yeah, Pat Leonard, our favorite reporter, trying to put a little wedge between Daniel Jones and Malik Neighbors there a little bit, which doesn't exist, let's be real. But the one bright side, Sam, is we still lead the league in sacks. In fact, we're 3. off of our 2023 total. They sacked Hurts 5 times, but keep in mind, too, 3 of them came in the first quarter. And this posed me to ask you the question, what went wrong with the defense? Because obviously we know Dexter sat down with Deonte Banks this week. Clearly there is a lack of effort and frustration within parts of the defense. And I think Deonte Banks, I'm not a big fan of calling individual players out like this, especially young players. But this just can't happen. Watching film of it and seeing it happen live is not a good look. And Banks also admitted to the media there was one play he could have tackled Jalen Hurts, and he just let him run. He let him run.
Yeah, and I think that was that when Jalen Hurts was running down the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that is like a big thing right now, because no matter what, a lot of times when the defenders hit quarterbacks out of bounds, they'll get a penalty. We saw that a lot this past Sunday with Patrick Mahomes. Like the 49ers just like refused to touch him as he was tiptoeing the sideline, which obviously gained them more yards. So that definitely is a part of it. But I think you're right in the fact that, one, Dexter Lawrence did what he needed to do as a leader on the defense and a leader on this team. But it's not anything that you ever really want to see. You guys are grown adults and you're making a lot of money. Someone should not have to sit you down and tell you to do your job. And I think this, again, that it's bringing back to that lack of passion, because we're not winning games. And obviously I know that that's difficult, but this is still, they always say this is a business. This is a business. It is. You have to do your job and you have to do it well. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. And obviously I don't think we're going to lose Deonte Banks anytime soon, at least not this year. But, in the future, these things add up, and you have to be passionate about your team no matter what, because it's your team. And through thick, thin, bad, good, you have to stick with it. And I think that's the part that really sucks, is like that lack of effort, as we were talking about, and things like that. It just sucks, because it's just like, then it just like reverberates throughout the entire team.
I agree with that. As Tommy says, much respect. We disagree with both you guys. Giants have great rosters, but they don't have a good head coach. He ain't ready.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in a second. I just wanted to bring up one point, too. Both sides of the ball were so awful. Matt Hack might have had enough punting yards to get back down to the link. 517 punt yards for him. Giants are now 0-3 in the NFC East. 0-3 at home, or 0-4 at home, I think, actually. Giants are now 1-10 under Daboll and Shane, with Dallas and Philly. What do we think of Brian Daboll at this point? John Mara came out and mentioned that there are no plans to make any changes after the season. Now, granted, it's very early in the season. A lot could still happen, and this is sort of the default answer. He's not going to come out and say 7 weeks in, oh, yeah, Daboll's on the hot seat, or Joe Shane's on the hot seat. I think Daboll and Shane are both safe for another 2 seasons, because Mara has mentioned in the past he has not been patient enough with head coaches, and Joe Judge was going to be safe at the end of 21 if one of 2 things didn't happen. He did not go on that 11-minute rant, and if he did not run a QB sneak on 3rd and 9, or 3rd and 11, whatever it was. You get the
You're
point.
right, it was 3rd and 9.
Those 2 things, I think, culminated, and Joe Judge was losing the locker room after that. He might have been losing some players before, but he lost full control. Brian Daboll has not lost control of the locker room. Brian Daboll is a good head coach that is being ruined by bad quarterback play and by a couple bad draft picks here and there. I think if you're going to blame someone a little bit more than the other, blame Joe Shane. He has the highest seat in the front office. So, yeah, I think that's where I'm going with that. So, Tudo, I respect the opinion. I sort of agree that there are points where Daboll can do better, but I don't understand what exactly has been a point to justify potentially firing Brian Daboll thus far. Because remember, Dallas and Philly, they played 3 times against Philly in 22, 2 times against Dallas in 22. Bad roster. Half of those 10 losses were in 2022. That's the one thing I'll say there about that.
Yeah, I think that you hit on the head there. don't agree with the fact that Brian Dable is the problem. I think that, oh, man, it's like kind of tough because there is so much wrong. And I want to see, like, there's no pinpointing, unfortunately. It's kind of like a mix of things, but I definitely think that we're looking more higher up here. It is coming, it's a trickling down system right now with the New York Giants. And Brian Dable, I feel like he's done what he's had to do. Nobody's perfect, but I'm interested to see Tudo's answer here.
Definitely interested to see Tudo's answer. There goes the motorcycle.
There goes the motorcycle. It's like the same time every time.
Don't know how to develop and build players. He doesn't have any deep playbook with schemes, plan B or C to move the chains and finish offensive run. Offensive plays are predictable and transparent. This is also his first year calling the plays full time. And what quarterback does he have to develop? One who's been ruined by a revolving door of head coaches, bad offensive line play, and management and injuries? How are you supposed to develop that? That's my question. Jones is cooked. Dable's not. Dable's career is just getting started. Jones's career as a starter is in serious jeopardy, guys. I don't think people realize how close he is to getting benched. Might be the front office. Could be Mara. He's sure. Do you guys think the Giants should try and run more on offense?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm-hmm. If we could. Andrew Thomas, our best run blocker, out for the season. But there are a few bright spots on this team, Sam, and I think the Giants have the best, potentially the best defensive player in the National Football League. He's starting to, not to compare him to this guy, but he's playing that Aaron Donald role right now. I know it's a huge comparison, but he's playing so well, Dexter is, and I mean, there's nothing to hide here. He's obviously our player of the week, Sam, and take us through why we chose Dexter Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence, I mean, apart from being an excellent leader on this team, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits, 5 pressures on 17 pass rush snaps versus the Eagles. I mean, a 29.4 sack rate is pretty darn good. Leads the NFL with 9 sacks, which is a career high, which is pretty impressive, especially with guys like TJ Watt, Max Crosby, and I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's hurt now, but all these guys are kind of chasing Strahan's record right now. It's that 22 and a half. So if he's on pace to do 22 sacks this season, it's pretty impressive. Double teamed on 63.3% of pass rush snaps this season, and is the highest rate faced by any player. Wow, that's pretty wild. And obviously the second longest tenured Giant. It is very, very much like there's not a lot of guys on this team that have been there for this long. And Dexter Lawrence and Daniel Jones are kind of guys that are the veterans, which is crazy to think about.
And people want to point out too, like, it's tough for players to thrive here. This is New York. This is the largest market in the country. Sterling Shepard's thriving in Tampa Bay. Evan Ingram is thriving in Jacksonville. There are a lot of former Giants that are playing well. Saquon in Philly. Nick Gates in Philly. It's pretty crazy the way things are unfolding. 3 years of poor performance and results don't lie. They won a playoff game in 22. I wouldn't say 3 years of poor performance. You could argue last year and the beginning of this year, but there's still a lot of year left, Tudo. If the Giants pull a rabbit out of their hat and upset Pittsburgh this week, you get a home date against Washington, possibly with or without Jaden Daniels, and then you got the Panthers in Germany. So there is a small, tiny window. They could string 3 wins in a row or win 2 out of those 3 games. If they win 2 out of those 3 games, the season is still alive. If they lose 2 or more of those games, the season's washed. That's my opinion on that. These next 3 games will be very, very telling. If you only beat Carolina and lose to the other 2, that's it. It's done. And I am a little bit worried about the Steelers with Russell Wilson, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, only because I think we saw a lot more bad than good from him in Denver, although I do think Pittsburgh will be a solid home for him. And Sam, I think that brings us to our Week 8 talk here. Should the Giants trade Azeez Ojulari?
Ah. It's funny because he was literally our player of the week last week.
Yeah.
It's kind of complicated because Azeez, before last week, really wasn't doing much for this team. And you've had spoken about how disappointed you were with his role on this team. Like, it just didn't seem like he was doing much. And it's like last week he has this amazing performance. He steps up. We don't have Kayvon in there, and he does what he needs to do. And then, then it's like nothing again. So it's like, if you're going to have one good game every 7 weeks, is it worth it to have him here? I can't remember off the top of my head how much money they're paying him right now. Is he still in a rookie contract?
Yes, last year.
So, I don't think they should pay him. So I guess at the end of the day, sure, yeah. I guess he's traded, because I don't think that they should be paying him money, because he hasn't really shown anything to us that's worth a certain amount of money.
Azeez has been the Daniel Jones of the defense. And what I mean by that is he's always hurt. When he's healthy, he has his good moments where he plays really well. Like, oh, where is this coming from? The one difference is that I think Azeez is a better athlete. He played college football at Georgia. He was very established there. But the injury history and the brief moments of greatness are the similarities between those two players. And Azeez is the only guy left from the 2021 draft. Everyone else is either re-signed, gone, or Joe Shane's rookies. So it'll be, or Joe Shane's picks, I should say. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Azeez. Other notes too, Gunnar Olszewski not coming back this week. Neither is Graham Gano. Not great. Giants worked out a tackle, DJ Humphries, former Cardinal, demoted Boogie Basham to the practice squad. It's been crazy, Sam, and I think that leads us to our preview of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Sam, I want to ask you, I know your younger brother is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. How excited is he about this team? And I kind of just want to get your opinion on them this season, because they're a team that's never great on paper, but they seem to sort of just back their way into the playoffs. But this season, it seems a little different. It seems like something special is there in this team.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers have constantly been, they're not really ever a bad team per se. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record. That's the stat that always goes around every year. And that's part of the reason why he's been around so long. Apart from, he does have Super Bowls under his belt, but he was, he had Ben Roethlisberger, and that was what was carrying him. Not that it was carrying him, but Mike Tomlin is a good coach, but it's like they're always just a little bit mediocre, and they always kind of like make the playoffs or just miss the playoffs, and it's just constant. So they're never giving him the boot, because it's like, how do you boot a coach that has a winning record? And I think recently there's been a huge shift on all sides of the ball for the Steelers. Obviously, their quarterback is the main thing here. Really rided with Justin Fields through the entire beginning of this season, which I was really surprised that they put Russell in to begin with. I really thought that this was Justin Fields' job, but my brother told me that he was happy to see Russell Wilson in there. He was happy to see, this guy, a Super Bowl winning quarterback under center again. And he's like, wow, it's like exciting to see the football being played. And on the offensive side, on the defensive side, it's not just TJ Watt. We have that kid Beanie Bishop just kind of like popped out of nowhere for the Steelers defense. And it's like, they're just really amazing. Dante Jackson, Deshaun Elliott, like this is a very, very solid defense despite having some young guys. And yeah, my brother's pretty stoked about it. He's happy to see his team winning. It's pretty obvious that, they're most likely making the playoffs this year, if not taking the division or, going hard up against the Ravens as hard as they can. So yeah, they're definitely playing a lot better than I was anticipating them to.
5-2. At home, just torched the Jets back-to-back weeks with 30-plus points. Russ looked good, a 109 rating last week, only sacked one time, 2 touchdown passes. Najee Harris, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, scored. George Pickens, who we'll talk with Gabb in a little bit, our guest tonight. Excited to have Gabb Goudy up in just a few moments. And Tudo, we love you. We appreciate your comments. I just want to acknowledge that. Yeah, look, I know you guys aren't here to disagree with us all the time. Look, we appreciate your opinions. Even if you don't agree, we still want the comments. We want you guys to tell us why you disagree with us. It definitely opens for a good discussion. But to finish the point, Sam, George Pickens, 100 yards last week on the Jets defense.
Yikes.
Big yikes.
Like literally, that's like that's the biggest, weakest part of that team. Like they don't really have any receivers per se. I mean, Pat Freiermuth is in there. George Pickens is somebody who's very outspoken and I'm not taking his talent away from him because we have seen him play incredibly, incredibly well. But like, if you're going to be the wide receiver one on this team, you got to do a lot better than that, buddy. A lot better.
Adam, what's good, guys? Let's go Giants. Appreciate it. And then Sam, LOL, my teammates are missing the blonde Sam.
My hair is blonde. It's just when I put it in the braids, it's darker. But it's still blonde. Don't worry. This is my natural color coming in up here.
And then other than that, look, 6.5 points. It feels like it's a lot of points, but the way the Giants have played, I think it's a fair line. It's a very fair line. If the Giants would have won last week, played a little better, I think you wouldn't see a touchdown line for the Steelers. It's not every year they play them. So, and then they were asking Jones today too, Sam, the discrepancy between home and away. For some reason, like MetLife is cursed.
Are we bringing up that stat? That 600-plus day stat?
What is it? I didn't even read it because I didn't want to read it.
I think it's been 658 days since Daniel Jones has thrown a touchdown at MetLife Stadium. Something like that. Since prior to even signing him, like giving him the contract.
That's terrible.
It's a lot of days. No. Sorry, Adam. No, I'm not trading him Malik Neighbors. I'm not doing it. But yeah, it's not good. Like that is not the statistic that you want to hear from your $40 million quarterback. Like no touchdowns, not a single touchdown at home. Like that's when you should be throwing the touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be at the next home game, by the way.
Oh boy,
our guest is here. Very excited to welcome her on the stream. Sam, friend of yours, FanDuel's own, if she's ready. Gabb Goudy, welcome to the show.
Hey guys.
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Hello.
Great. How are you guys?
Yo, hanging in there.
Doing good.
Me too. It's been a week, but I'm still going.
Yeah, for you too. You've been struggling as a Browns fan as well.
I mean, is it ever like gonna be good for the Browns? No, but will I still watch? Yeah, because you can't look away.
Yes, it's like a car crash.
Every time.
Love that. We can relate bad football teams. I know we missed you for the week 3 show, so we're very happy to get you up here, another AFC North opponent. But I guess before we get into that, Gabb, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, the work that you do for FanDuel? We're very elated about that and interested to know a little bit more about Gabb Goudy.
Yeah, so I work for FanDuel. I've been working for them a little over 3 years. I'm a content creator for them. I make TikToks, I make short form videos on YouTube, a bunch of stuff on Instagram, Yap on Twitter. I go to events, interview some athletes, interview some fans, and I just really love to talk about sports. That's basically it. And I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm a Cleveland sports fan, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, I'm a Yankee fan.
Well, I'm happy for you. Like, at least you get to have some happiness. We had some, like we didn't think we were going to make it this far. So at least we had that.
Very fair. Very fair.
I'm in the same boat as a Giants Mets fan, which is not common.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we had our fun. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we might be able to have more fun. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
We will definitely see. Sam, why don't you get started here? We'll run through some stuff, talk about the Steelers. I know, Gabb, you see them twice a year as a Browns fan. So,
yeah, I think something that we were talking about before, Gabb, was the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields situation. And I kind of was iffy about it. I thought they were going to be rolling with Justin Fields. What were your thoughts kind of as Russell Wilson was named the starter?
I understand the thought process behind it because, Justin Fields, you were winning games, but you also don't know what you're getting out of Russell Wilson. And you were winning games, but I don't think it was really the offense that was winning those games. Not to discredit what he was doing, but I just thought they could do more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I just, I was so surprised. I really thought that Mike Tomlin was going to be nope, Justin Fields is the guy. And he said it so many times. And then it was just oh, actually, no, Russell Wilson's coming in. And did amazing last week.
He did. He did a great job.
He came out and was just hang on, hold my beer. Here I am, Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think it has anything to do with the pick that they are going to get too? Because, isn't it so many snaps Russell Wilson plays and they get a higher pick or something like that? Isn't it what it's supposed to be?
Possibly. It's a very good. I actually don't know all the details of the Russell Wilson trade. Tom, do you know?
I do not know. I thought it's
possible. They might get a better pick if they play him.
Yeah, I think it's a comp pick that could possibly move up around for who would it be? Denver. So I don't know exactly how it works with him, but I mean he's played well the last couple of weeks. I guess I don't think Justin was playing bad, but thank you, Tudo, for that comment again. With Russ, he's developed a good connection, it seems to be, with George Pickens, right? And he's been really good. Young player out of Georgia, one of the league leaders in receiving yards and big play catches. Where would you rank him, Gabb? Would you say he's top 25 range, top 20? Where exactly would you rank him? And I guess, Sam, we were talking about it too. Do you think he's a wide receiver one?
I mean, George Pickens is good. But we also don't know how good he can be because he hasn't had someone to give him the football like other great wide receivers do. So I don't know where I would put him on a list like that until I see what he can do with not like Russell Wilson's anything crazy either, but it might help him a little bit.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth about George Pickens. Also because he's on my fantasy team and sometimes he's just here, have 22 points. And I'm oh, cool. And then sometimes he's 3 points. And I'm great, perfect. Love this for me. So it's kind of I know fantasy points isn't a stat, but that's always kind of what I base it off of. But yeah, George Pickens is weird. It's if he was on the Chiefs, would he just be a freaking star?
Right.
I don't know.
Sam, why don't we talk about fantasy for a moment there?
No.
You absolutely whipped my butt last week.
I did. I don't have the points in front of me, but it was pretty solid. It was I think at least 50 or 60 points.
It was 65. I had the spell of Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, Sam Laporta, and Tank Dell all combining for 12 points, if that. It's terrible.
Rough. So rough. I'm so sorry.
You're good. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Pickens is on the way. I want to see him get more separation on these routes, though. And right now, Pittsburgh, it's not like they have anybody else because Roman Wilson is out with an injury, and he was a high-round pick for them. So I'm very ecstatic about George Pickens, not this week, but overall, I think he's a really good, big-bodied receiver, somebody that can get separation off good corners, and he'll give opponents fits for sure.
I think that something else that we were talking about earlier in the show was Mike Tomlin and kind of like how he was and is a good coach, but kind of a mediocre coach. Gabb, do you think Mike Tomlin has it in him to at some point, I don't think it's going to be this year, but at some point bring this team to a Super Bowl again? Or do you think he's kind of like washed up?
I don't think he's washed up. I don't think the team is good enough to do it. I like Mike Tomlin. But the only time, like when I watch Mike Tomlin, he just runs my team up and down the field and makes them look pathetic every time we play against them. So to me, Mike Tomlin is like here. I think he's great. If he were to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns, I'd be like, yeah, come on, come do it in a heartbeat. That'd be awesome. Super Bowl, probably not. I mean, TJ Watt hasn't even won a playoff game in his career. We don't talk about that enough.
You're so right. I did not even think about that.
But I like Mike Tomlin.
I love him. I think he should be
a great coach
of the year candidate, at least top 5, top 3. 5-2 Steelers team with a quarterback shuffle going on there for sure. For sure. Yeah. So I think with Mike Tomlin being the coach that he is, I mean, following the footsteps of Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher emphasized defense. Pittsburgh's defense has always been good for the most part. Having Watt, Highsmith, but on the other side, the Giants have a player by the name of Dexter Lawrence II. Gabb, what's the game plan if you're Pittsburgh? How do you slow him down, if any? Because you saw it week 3.
Oh, I saw a disaster week 3, mind you. How do you slow him down? I mean, it's going to take a lot. We know that, but we also have Mike Tomlin on the other side. Who knows what he's going to actually do, though?
Yeah, definitely.
Very fair, too. I mean, you have Zach Frazier, James Daniels, Mason McCormick, those guys. And, I mean, Dexter, 9 sacks on the season for a DT. That's certainly a lot, but
right. And
it hasn't mattered.
Russell Wilson's not some young guy that's going to be out here running around either.
Yeah, I feel like that's another conversation that the Steelers need to have. It's like Russell Wilson can't be your quarterback of the future because he's already in his mid-30s. He's not going to be around for another 10 years. There's no way. So it's like, you're running with Russ, but yet Justin Fields is your backup and was winning you games. But is Justin Fields the future of the Steelers? Or like, it's like so kind of all over the place.
And they're not even in like they're winning games. They're not in a place where they could go and get a bridge quarterback right now. You're winning games. You got to keep winning.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think going to like Giants side of things, it's very obvious that one of the best players on our team is Malik Neighbors, and like when he's healthy, doing an amazing job on the field. Do you think that there's anything that the Steelers defense can do to like guarantee that Malik Neighbors like just they shut him down?
Well, the Steelers defense is always their strength.
Right.
Can they completely shut him down? No, they're not going to completely shut him down, but it'll be a great matchup. I still think that he's going to go off like he always does. We're clearly going to see some entertainment from him, but like it might be one of the more difficult matchups he's had so far this season.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Browns corners are really good, and he was completely destroying them. So there's some hope.
Yeah. It's very, very possible that TJ Watt reaches Michael Strahan's sack record on Monday night. Oh, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Oh, no.
7 times Daniel Jones was sacked last week.
7. Great.
7.
I think Watt is getting Jermaine and then Highsmith, because Watt, Gabb, you might know better. Does Watt travel much? Does he jump across sides of the line? He usually stays on one side.
Yeah.
So he would get the right tackle. So, Sam, that works. Well, Highsmith, if Watt wasn't on the Steelers, Highsmith would be so much more talked about. His sack numbers would be even better. then I know he only has one, but he gets to the quarterback. He's a problem. And Josh Zudu is a bigger problem for us. Yeah, taking a lot of time to decide on what to do. But yeah, I guess let's get into our keys of the game. So we'll do this talking about how Pittsburgh could win, how the Giants could somehow win, and then we'll get into our little parlay party. Sam and I put one together. Gabb put one together. Excited to go through that. So Gabb, as the guest, we'll start with you. What does Pittsburgh do really well that the Giants should be worried about? Obviously, we've struggled to stop the run. So
getting to the quarterback and causing turnovers.
Yeah.
That's what they'll do.
Mm-hmm.
They're scary. They're not some weak, easy team. They've never not been scary. So when you play the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know it's always going to be a competitive game. No matter how they are each year, they find a way to win.
I feel like their defensive strengths are our offensive vulnerabilities. So that's it's literally just sacking the quarterback and turning the ball over. Daniel Jones knows exactly how to do that. Yeah, my goodness. It's rough.
You want to hear this stat? So
do I?
You do.
Okay.
I think all of us do. Per Next Gen Stats, the Giants defense has allowed a league-high 5.3 yards per carry this year across 55 designed runs on the inside between the tackles. 17 of those runs went for 8 or more yards, so 17 of those 55. Dexter Lawrence was absent for 8 of those 17 runs of 8 or more yards. Another 3 of those runs with Lawrence on the field, the Giants had 5 or fewer defenders in the box. I know it's a lot of numbers, jabber, whatever. But on designed runs outside the tackles, the Giants are 8th best in the NFL. So for me, it's, can you stack the box and make Najee Harris run outside towards Broderick Jones and Dan Moore, right? Because Harris is a bull. He'll run right through the teeth of the defense. And even though Dexter Lawrence is there, he's the only guy there. You're not getting production from anywhere else. You know, Raheem Nunez-Roches is the guy, but he's getting old. He's not quick enough anymore to compete with those younger offensive linemen in the trenches.
Yeah. I definitely think that our key to the game is to just make sure the Steelers don't score points. That is the bottom line for the Giants. The defense needs to, obviously the offense needs to step up, but I think the defense is much more capable of stepping up and just holding back their points, because what they scored 37 points last week. We cannot compete with that. The Giants don't go past 25 points. It's just not in our nature. So it's as long as we can kind of keep them in the lower end of the spectrum, then maybe there's a chance. But other than that, I think that's the main key to the game for us.
For sure. And what we'll do now is 2 players to watch from each team. We could duplicate if we want, because I don't know if there's more than 6 players to watch on the Giants, if we're being realistic. But Gabb, we'll start with you here. Who on the Giants, maybe one on each side of the ball for each team. So we'll do Giants across the horn first, and then I was about to say the Browns. And then the Steelers.
You don't want to watch anyone on there. No, Don't do that to yourself. Yeah. Obviously for the Giants, I'm going to go Malik Neighbors. That is number 1. I feel like that's everybody's favorite, right? Sure. And then for the Steelers, we're going to go obviously with Russell Wilson, because this game is going to depend on him. If he wants to be a good quarterback, it'll be a good game. If he doesn't want to be a good quarterback, it could get really messy everywhere.
Totally.
We got Sam.
Gosh. For the Giants, I'm gonna stick with Dexter Lawrence as somebody to watch. Like I said, kind of going with my key to the game. The defense has got to be the strongest part of our team this week, and Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive players on our team, so I'm gonna say him. And then I'm gonna say Najee Harris on the other side of the ball, just because of the fact that I feel like he's kind of having this resurgence this year a little bit. Najee didn't do a lot the last season or two, and he's kind of re-emerging again. And with the way that our run defense is, he can just absolutely explode and take off down the field. So I'm gonna say those two guys.
For the Giants, Brian Burns for me. He's a guy that, I mean, we all watched Hard Knocks, right? Gabb, I don't know if you watched but we watched Hard Knocks and we saw how that trade went down. It's been a great acquisition for the Giants. 4 sacks, 6 TFLs, 6 passes defended too. He's a guy that can not only line up off the edge, but can drop back into coverage and play a bit of linebacker. And I think when you have a versatile tight end like Pat Freiermuth, you want guys like that, right? You know, Bobby O, Sam, and Mike McFadden, serviceable linebackers who have played well, but the limitations of other areas of this defense have hurt their production this year. So I think it's up to guys like Burns, not having Thibodeau again, Burns and Dexter Lawrence to step up and sort of pick up the pieces there. And then on the offense, I'm going to go with John Michael Schmitz because Cam Hayward is a bull. He's an actual bull, and he's very, very good. 3 sacks for him on the season. And another thing, too, about Cam Hayward, great run stuffer. The Steelers are holding running backs to 3.5 yards per carry, 3rd lowest in the NFL. And he also clears up double teams, clears up lanes for a young rookie named Peyton Wilson, who is one of their leading tacklers with Patrick Queen. So those are my 2 for the Giants. Now for the Steelers, Gabb, who do you have? I'm sorry.
No, we did the Steelers.
I did the Giants like an idiot. All right. So I guess we'll go counterclockwise. I'll do the Steelers. And then, so for Pittsburgh, I'm going Alex Highsmith. I talked about him before. Good edge rusher. Will be matched up against Josh Azudu. Big factor. Offensively, I'm a tight end guy. I like Pat Freiermuth. Went to Penn State. Good pass catcher. 2 touchdowns on the season, but most importantly, being more involved with Russell Wilson under center. 2 catches, but for 51 yards last week. So we'll go back to Sam here. That's my bet.
Okay. Wait, we're doing the Steelers now? We just did them.
I messed up. I went Giants instead of Steelers. So now, Sam, you could do the Giants.
I did both.
You did both. So, Gabb, then you could just do the Giants.
I think she did both, too.
Oh, she did both as well.
Right?
Pardon.
Did we not do both?
I'm getting distracted by this troll in the comments here. That
I get it. I get that.
Put him in timeout. Yeah, you saw that, right? That's where my mind was going as both of you were talking. So
no, the doc was covering up the comments, so I didn't even see that.
I just covered it now. Thank God we have editing, no?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Enough of me. Let's get to our parlay party.
Woohoo!
Gabb, we'll start with you here. I know the props aren't open yet.
They are now. Don't worry. I looked right before. They're up now. And what I was pressing was a little spicy. I didn't know it was going to be that. I didn't know it was going to be like that. I thought I was being like normal. No, I was bumping up the odds.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So that's a little funny. You want me to just go? Fire off?
Let's hear it.
So I'm taking Russell Wilson to throw 2 touchdown passes, over 1.5 TDs thrown. I know that sounds a little crazy, but if he can be the Russell Wilson that we know, he can do that. George Pickens, anytime touchdown scorer, and Russell Wilson, 225 passing yards. I thought that was going to be like under what it was going to be. No, we're reaching over with that. That's some plus money on there. So that got me up to like 620, plus 620 on that. I said, oh, okay. Interesting. I thought I was shooting low there.
Nice. It's pretty good.
Going big on Russ. Let Russ cook.
I guess so.
He's putting a chef hat on this Monday for sure. All right.
So for Sam, you want me to roll through it or?
Yeah, you do it.
Okay. So Steelers have a good defense. If the Giants have anything good about their team, it is their defense. But I'm taking the over in this game because Pittsburgh has been scoring a lot of points over the last couple of weeks, and I don't see how the Giants are going to stop them. So I bought a couple here. Over 36.5 is where I'm going with that. I like Malik Neighbors to get 60-plus receiving yards. I like Najee Harris to run for at least 70 receiving yards. George Pickens, 60-plus receiving yards. And then the final leg, TJ Watt, over half a sack.
That is insane that's so low.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I might just do TJ Watt over half a sack just like by itself.
If you take it solo and just throw whatever on it, it should hit.
Yeah.
100%.
Like that's like, yeah, crazy.
100%. But yeah, I mean, other than that, let's get into our game predictions. So Gabb, we'll start with you. Is there any way the Giants pull off this upset? And even if you don't think they do, where could it possibly go wrong for the Steelers or the Giants?
It could go very wrong for the Steelers if Russell Wilson decides to be the quarterback that he's been over the last couple of years. He didn't decide to be that last week, but it all depends on him. And I don't think that they will pull the plug on him in this game. Why would they do that? That'd be dumb to do. It's all on him, I feel.
All right. Do you have a score prediction?
Oh, score prediction? Oh, man. Oh. Maybe like 21 to like 13. Steelers.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think
Just
we're gonna
coming up that under there.
I think we're gonna sweep on this Giants show right now.
That means hammer the Giants if we're gonna sweep.
Yeah,
Usually that's how it goes the other way.
We always, if we ever pick against the Giants win.
Oh, great.
Every time. But I really don't think that the Giants are going to be able to pull this out. We also know how much Daniel Jones struggles in prime time, like all the time. He's like a poor man's Kirk Cousins. But yeah, Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say that they're going to easily cover their 6.5 point spread. I'm going to say 27-10. I think the Giants maybe get one touchdown and a field goal, maybe 27-13-ish, but I can't imagine it's going to be more than that.
Zach Hoffman says, trade me Bijan. Zach, I'm not going to talk on our behalf, but I think you know what the answer is going to be, buddy.
Why is everyone trying to propose fantasy trades in the comments right now with me? Come on. I'm not. This is the second time he's asked me if I could trade a Bijan.
So for me here, I'm going to go Pittsburgh 26-13. Chris Boswell has been one of the best fantasy football kickers this season. I think the Steelers score 2 touchdowns and kick 4 field goals to win the game. That's 6 scoring possessions. So that's a lot. That's a lot. Clean sweep for Pittsburgh. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Gabb, I really miss Dalvin Tomlinson. I wish he was still a Giant. I hope he's.
You might as well just take him because our team is bad.
Why not?
I mean, I think it's going to be a fire sale really quick, really soon. Like we're getting in dangerous territory of the whole team exploding. It's going to be bad.
It's like with the AFC North. There's the Ravens, the Steelers. The Bengals are sort of like teetering. Like
they had that one moment, but then they're like kind of where they used to be.
Right. And then there's the Browns, which
Browns.
All those teams are going to be on Hard Knocks next month.
Oh, it's going to be there. You know what? Good thing that Deshaun Watson isn't playing anymore because that would have been even worse. Like those episodes would have been bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think they will be, but like that would have been a whole nother level of something. Yeah.
What up, goofballs? Appreciate you. And then the good news for the Steelers is some guys are practicing this week. Roman Wilson still might not play yet. I really want to see him play, even if it's at the Giants' expense. I want to see him be well, do well in the NFL. And then for the Giants, we have 3 corners that did not practice today. So that goes to show you where we're at.
Love that for us.
And I would trade Jalen Hyatt at this point with those cracked ribs. I don't want him.
Who's Jalen Hyatt? I'm not familiar with him. I'm not seeing him do anything this year.
Third round. And I don't even think he's a bust either. I just think we don't know how to use him. Like, I'm actually convinced.
Yeah, probably. You're probably 100% correct.
But massages situation. Glad that he is out. Probably, might probably be better off with Jameis Winston. Definitely better off with Jameis Winston at this point. But yeah, Gabb, want to thank you very much for joining us and taking the time out of your schedule to talk some football with us. And hopefully we can talk about your Browns when they're better off at some point. But yeah, we do have a question for you actually that just popped in. Do you think this is the last year that the Giants have Daniel Jones?
For your guys' sake, I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know how people feel about Daniel Jones. I'm just going to assume, I feel like he's a great guy. I feel like he's a very nice guy. But I don't think he's a very good quarterback.
We've been Daniel Jones truthers for a long time. And this year we finally were like, it's got to end. It's got to end, unfortunately. I feel like the potential was there. We had the thought that it could happen.
And then it's just still not happening.
Nope. Unfortunately.
Yep. Time to move on. Love him for what he was, but not many quarterbacks should say they won a playoff game on the road and played well. But at the end of the day,
I was there.
Really?
You were there?
I was there. Yep, in Minnesota. I was there.
Amazing.
And
what a time to be alive.
He looked good that game too.
Yeah,
I know the Vikings defense is not good. Wasn't good in 22, but still 13-win team.
Yeah.
Throw in a closets. I agree here with Goofball saying Hyatt is a project, not a bust. I agree. Definitely bust potential. That's probably Drew. What's up, Drew? Hope you and Rob are doing well. Gabb, thank you so much again for your time.
Yeah, for sure.
Plug yourself, please, one more time for the folks watching where people can find you and your work.
All my socials are the same across every single thing. GABBGOUDY. You can find me on that everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want to find me. That's me. I'll be there. I will be complaining about the Browns if you guys don't mind. That's where I'll be.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gabb. Yeah. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Take care. Thanks. I am going to have to rewatch that Players to Watch segment because my mind absolutely dropped during that segment. So forgive me, Sam.
That's why I got so confused. I was sitting there and I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be answering right now?
We've all been there, had one of those moments.
It's a Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah,
we're all a little bit
cooked.
Yeah, I feel you.
But yeah, no, good show. Throwing the parlays in there. I think that was fun. Definitely getting a different look at it, seeing what neutral fans think of this game too. Getting Haran to talk about the Steelers, the division rival, definitely some good stuff. And the comments were great tonight. Appreciate you all tuning in, everybody.
No more fantasy trades in the comments, guys.
Yeah, please.
Because I don't fantasy trade ever. So sorry.
But yeah, it'll be an interesting week. Hopefully everybody plays well, even if it comes in a loss. I'm excited. I'm going to the Giants game next week when they're back at home against the Washington Commanders, week 9. So that should be a good one.
Always go to Commanders games.
I feel like I went last year too when they won. But
yeah, I feel like you're always going to a Giants Commanders game. Is there any reason or
No. Sorry, the fiance's dog just woke up.
We didn't even get to congratulate you on the show, Tom.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody. Tom got engaged. Yay!
And there goes my face, turns bleep red. Yeah.
We're so excited for you, though.
Thank you. Crazy story, but what are we talking about?
We were talking about how bad the
Commanders games
and logging off.
Yeah, quickly though, why I go to Giants Commanders games? There's no reason. My brother wants to go to the same game that his friend goes to, and all the other games around this time of year before it gets too cold are primetime home games. And My brother, who wakes up at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, doesn't want to sit there through a 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock game. This is the one of few 1 o'clock home games that we've had that we've been home for. So just happens to be the Commanders once again. Winnable game, regardless of who. I mean, I get it. They're much better this year. They're a first place team, but when the Giants play the Commanders, it's always a winnable game.
Yeah, especially if Jaden Daniels doesn't play.
Now we need to hear how and see the ring. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate you, buddy. But yeah, no, definitely some awesome stuff. Before I have any more dumb moments on the show, let's sign off, Sam. Folks, if you're watching, make sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of your support. On behalf of Sam Cardona Norberg, I'm Tom Scavetta saying good night. Without further ado, let's go Big Blue.